Standing up too high with nowhere to fall down to. Empathy around you. Standing looking back, you heard it all before. Now losing what you didn't know you had. Fearing what you want is nearing, but you're really trying to get away from it. Basic instincts overpowering. You still have this open. When this could be good enough for us. This could be good enough for us. When this could be good enough for us. This could be good enough for us. This could be good enough for This could be good enough for Hearing what you want is nearing, but you're really trying to get away from it. Basic instincts overpowering. You still have this open. When this could be good enough for us. Standing up too high with nowhere to fall down to. Empathy around you. Standing looking back, you heard it all before. Now losing what you didn't know you had. Hearing what you want is nearing, but you're really trying to get away from it. Basic instincts overpowering. You still have this open. This could be good enough for us. This could be good enough for us. When this could be good enough for us.
Hello everyone and welcome to iRacing's virtual Michigan International Speedway for what's expected to be an interesting race to say the very least tonight. It's round 3 of the FTF F1 season as FTF1 looks to try and go oval racing at this 2-mile facility. I'm Justin Prince alongside of the booth. Today is Jacob Pitts with Jack Johnson in the director's seat for today's action. And today's going to bring plenty of different challenges, Jacob. This is the Delara IR01 on an oval track where drivers will be carrying speeds in excess of more than 200 miles an hour the whole way around.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, look, these guys are going to be probably a little bit reckless here right out of the gate. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of people wound up in the wall in the first two laps, just because they're going to be a little too aggressive. Because I mean, this is the second weekend of the series, the third race of the series. It's first time they're on an oval. These guys have no idea what they're walking into. They're going to have a better idea when they go to Indy, because they'll at least have been here and had a little bit of experience. But I mean, this is the first time that these guys have ever been thrown in on an oval in these cars in this kind of setting, and we've got a considerable amount of people here on the racetrack. It's got the potential to be an absolute nightmare for the drivers, but it's also got the potential to bring on a good show for all of us, and that's why we're here.
There's a lot to talk about for tonight's race, but first things first, it's time to look at how they'll start for tonight as drivers are now rolling their way towards your starting grid. Ethan Corder will start on the pole today. He had the quickest time over a 4-lap average. 4 clean qualifying laps were required to be able to set a time on the board. Ryan Araki will start on the outside of the front row. In row 2, it's Casey Drake and Jake Poulin. In row 3, it's Justin Mallow in the traction machine with Ryan Doucette in 6th position. Sean Butler will start in 7th with Matthew Zwack in 8th position with Clint Roberts and Logan Helton rounding out your top 10, Jacob.
11th, we've got Dustin Dawes to his outside. Lucas Plossel then in 13th. It's Oysen Walsh. 14th, Matt Spalding. 15th, Brian Kidda. 16th, Tyler Williams. 17th, Michael Frisch. 18th, Tucker Minter. 19th, Brian Mercurio. And rounding out the top 20,
Aaron Smith II will start 21st with Ballacino in 22nd position. Patrick Vogel will start 23rd. Kyle Riley, 24th scheduled starting position. Rudy Valentine will start 25th. Morpheus Perry, Dylan Nowotny rounding up to 27 drivers who will attempt to race today at Michigan International Speedway. Tonight's distance, 200 miles, 100 laps for our drivers. One fast repair is available in the pit lane. And the weather today, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. For the air temp, 113 degrees is your track temp. Instant day, May the 7th, 2021, just approaching, will be about 5 p.m. Your expectations, Jacob, for this race, as this has been an interesting season so far, where both the races seen crazy final laps, where in the first sprint race, it was Brandon Hawken who looped in the final corner of the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps and fell to the back end of the top 5, while teammates collided and still finished 1-2 in the second race over at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps.
Well, as long as we can make it to the line, we'll have already gone better than the USA World 500 or whatever it's called when they crash come to the green. Because I have a feeling we're kind of setting up kind of close to that. But these guys just got to be smart. They cannot be impatient right out of the gate, or you've got the potential to take yourself out and a lot of other good race cars out.
Green flag is out. We're underway for the Michigan 200, the third round of FTF1. Ethan Corder with a great launch. Ryan Araki on the outside, already trying to get himself sorted as here comes the draft. Big impact draft for today. Drivers are expected to get major slingshots from that draft near contact as they go 3-4 wide down the backstretch.
They were 5 wide in turn 2, and they're going to stay 4 wide. Somebody down on the flat. I don't know how they thought that was going to work. I think that was Justin Malillo that got shoved up the racetrack. More contact. Everybody hangs on for the time being. Somebody's got a broken wheel. I think it's Sean Butler. Now it fixes itself. They're still 4 wide, 3 wide for the lead. Oh, there they go. Big crash, turn 1.
Caution is out for the first time, and it comes on lap 2. And boy, oh boy, what an eventful first few laps, to say the very least. It's Matt Spalding is the driver who goes around and gets the hardest hit.
We got another one. We got another one upside down here in turn 1. What in the world? Where did the... Oh. Good grief. Sorry, Justin. Okay, so that incident coming off of 4 where they all bottled up, they actually did wreck. Patrick Vogel lost the front wing and the right front wheel got disconnected on the car. He got up on top of the wall on the front straightaway. That didn't bring out the caution. Then in turn 1, he just goes up the racetrack, hits the wall, and then rolls over and winds up upside down in the middle of the racetrack. I thought that was just a continuation of that first wreck, but guess not.
And this is how that caution came out. That once again, a hard hit for Matt Spalding. Ends up getting demolished in the first lap, as well as several others, where it was 3-4 wide. And by the way, as long as you're underneath the white lines today, the apron is in bounds. Yellow lines are out of bounds for today. An accident is under investigation at the moment after that incident. A crazy first couple laps. We were expecting craziness. Well, we've seen that here for today. Keep in mind, tire wear not expected to be a major factor for today, but the fast repairs definitely could become a factor, as there is the air driver you're referring to, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, this Dawes just kind of came down a little bit, and Spalding was there. Not much either of them can do. It's just a racing deal. But like I said, you got to be patient this early on. I mean, it's lap 2. In a 100-lap race, now you're going to have to tow around because your wheels are all broken. You're going to have to use your fast repair. You're going to be at least 1 lap down at this point now. You just got to be smarter than that. If you're 4 wide, get the heck out of the way if you're 4 wide on lap 2, I mean, when you're that aggressive that early, you don't know when the next caution's going to come out, and you want to get every position that you can. But there's a fine line between getting positions and just taking yourself out, and that's an example of it there.
So the drivers who are getting repairs during the sequence: Swack, Doucette, Fogel, Dawes, Spalding. So the rest of the field, about 9th on back, elected to come down to pit, keep in mind as well, to get some extra fuel. And let's talk about how the start of the season fared out once again in the first weekend, where it was Tucker Minter and Oisin Walsh, teammates, coming away with the victories in their respective races. For Walsh, it came in the sprint race where Brandon Hockenloop did around. For Tucker Minter, it came in the feature race for Splash and Go Factory Team, powered by Spud Cauliflower. That organization looking to carry a ton of momentum today, Jacob, and that's why they are tied at the top of the standings with 28 points after the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and I mean, just to think, they almost had a clean sweep with, oh goodness, I'm blanking on names, with Walsh. I mean, he was right there and almost won that feature. It just was too little too late against Minter. I mean, Walsh could have sweat the whole thing last week. So, I think he's looking to come back strong here at Michigan. But I mean, this is about as polar opposite as you can get between Spa and between Michigan.
Absolutely, and keep in mind, tonight's point system is for the oval races on the calendar for FTF1. Is the current F1 points used in real life plus 5 for each position. 11th through 15th will also score points for tonight's race. In other words, as long as you're in the top half of the field, you will score at least a point. There is a fastest lap available as well for 1 total point for tonight's action. But the driver's getting ready for the restart. It's Sean Butler who's up the front. It's Justin Malone in second, followed by Ethan Quarter, Clint Roberts, Casey Drink, Lucas Bussell, along with Jake Poulin, Tyra Williams, Logan Helton, Tucker Minter around the other top 10. Keep in mind, Helton on back, elected to come down and pit under the caution period. So we'll try this again. It's coming to the end of lap 5 to start off lap 6. 95 laps to go for the Michigan 200, the 3rd round of FTF1.
Single file restarts. You gotta love it.
And a great launch for Sean Butler on the single file restart. We're off and away, and they're already blocking hard for second as they're already up to 200 miles an hour at the end of the corner.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for these guys to get up to speed. There's no doubt about it. From the start-finish line all the way down to turn 1, they get up to 200 miles an hour. Like with the Cup cars, it take them almost 2 laps to get fully up to speed. Here comes Quarter. He's to the inside for Melillo. He's going to try and find a way past Butler. Can't quite do it. And here comes Casey Drake like a bat out of hell at the middle. He's going to try and have a shot here on the outside line.
See just how much head shake it's also brought in from all the turbulence NG's brought in for these drivers. An outside line is forming up and involves some of the drivers who pit. Logan Helton now leads an outside charge. They are 3 wide, a couple rows deep, but it's still Sean Butler hugging the very bottom of the racetrack in the race lead early on. But that outside line's got a lot of momentum with Casey Drake, one of the top drivers in practice, Jacob.
And you got Quarter in the middle there, too. You know, we kind of discovered this in practice. You can two-car tango in these cars. You have to be very delicate. You could risk breaking your front tires, breaking your front wing, but you can do it, and that's what that outside line's doing as we're going 4 wide into turn 1. 2 rows deep, and now we got trouble. 1 car into the outside wall. It's Michael P. Frisch. He also gets collected with Jake Poulin, and the second caution flag is out, and it's the second crash in turn 1.
And we're under yellow with the hard bit of contact. It was Frisch who was among the drivers trying to take it 4 wide on the upper top lines, but in the end it is tire-to-tire contact coming from the heart of the pack. It was Justin Malillo he got into for our second yellow of the race. We're approaching a 10th of the way through by the time we get back under green as we take a look at the bars visuals replay to take a look at what happened in particular.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the replay, it looks like Frisch sees a hole, he goes for it. Malillo moves to his right just enough that where Frisch is at doesn't work anymore. If Frisch was a quarter of a lane higher, they would have made it through just fine. Because, I mean, Malillo didn't move up all that much. He moved up maybe a quarter of a lane, if that. It's just that hole closed up with where Frisch was trying to thread the needle. It got too close, and it wound up putting the Captain Crunch car crunched into the wall.
Very big crunch indeed in that sequence as we're back under yellow. Frisch is still getting repairs done down the pit lane. EOL given to Malillo for that caution flag as well. Cancel that as well in that sequence. As you'll see one more time at the replay, rather, of what happened up top. This was as Casey Drake took over the race lead.
And you can forget about that race lead because he's coming to pit road.
Yep.
So he's coming in. He takes the lead, says, all right, that's enough. See you later. Matheson's in, Malillo's whack, Clint Roberts, Palacio, Minter, Mercurio, Walsh. You have, let's see, there was somebody else. It was, I think, Balacino. He's on pit road as well. So you've got really 3 guys that haven't pitted yet. It's Ethan Quarter, Sean Butler, and Tyler Williams. Helton came onto pit road on that last caution, and everybody else has been on pit road at least once now.
And track position could be very key based on what we've seen so far tonight, Jacob, where if you're at the front, you can stay out of the potential trouble where you don't have to dodge the incidents. At the same time, though, we've seen how big the draft has been. It's similar to, for those who watched along with SNSL, with, say, the Riley DPs, where you could draft and slingshot past one another and go from 13th to 1st in the span of a lap.
It's like plate racing in NASCAR, where the worst part of the storm with these guys is the front of the pack. It's where the leaders are. You know, you want to be leading the pack. You don't want to be 2-3 rows back, just because that's where the eye of the storm is pretty much going to be, and you're going to have a higher risk of getting nailed and getting wrecked. You know, you fall too far back, then you're out of the draft, and then you don't have a shot at winning. So there's a fine line between being in the thick of it and staying far back enough that you don't wind up getting involved in a wreck. As Logan Helton had me thinking that the pace car was broken. No, he was just driving inside of the pace car and turned me off.
That's called having fun with the pace car, everybody. As Ryan Araki, Brian Mercurio, Aaron Smith II also have come in and top off this time by. 1 to go signal on the racetrack. It's Helton, Quarter, Butler, Williams, Kidda, along with Drake, Zwack, Minter, Lussell, Roberts. The top 10, your biggest mover, by the way, is Williams, tied with Nowotny in this race so far.
Hey, you know what, Justin? Just be glad we're not at Darlington. I think the entire field just crashed there, and they're into red flag in the truck race going on right now. They, yeah, at least we've had accidents, but we've only had a total of 3 cars get wrecked. I think they just had like 3/4 of the field wreck in that one.
Gonna be an interesting sequence here. We'll have to see how things play out here in this one. There were drivers that had packs of 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers that were involved in incidents in practice while trying to test for tandem drafting and for the different lines. So far, by the way, how much has the lead gone back and forth? Well, how about 4 different leaders and 3 lead changes in just 10 plus laps so far? It's been that eventful so far in this 2 caution flag affair as we're coming to the restart. 89 laps to go. Helton in control of the field, and it's an early launch for Logan Helton. Green flags back out. We're racing once more for Michigan.
Yeah, we've had, okay, so we've completed 11 laps, and about half of that has been under green flag, too. So we've had 4 different leaders, 3 different lead changes in the span of 5 green flag laps. It's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive, absolutely. Been pretty impressive today so far for Ethan Corder, who wants to take over the race lead. He goes to the outside after the great launch for the top 2. It's Corder trying to utilize the outside for the lead. Butler holding on to 3rd right behind him. The rest of the field very much spread apart after that restart.
Oh!
Fire contact down the front stretch. Here comes Butler to make it 3 wide for the lead.
Yeah, them battling was going to allow Butler to hold or catch up. Them making contact definitely allows Butler to blow right by him. So Sean Butler pretty much just takes advantage of it. He's going to take the lead, and you got guys now behind him. Casey Drake, Matthew Zwack, Tyler Williams, and Brian Kidda. They're all trying to work together to catch these guys and make it a 7-car show.
We'll see how much they can try and close in. It was 35 flats from the side-by-sides last time. Casey Drake and company in the 34.7s. Here comes the rest of the pack. Kidda among the drivers now at the tail end of the grouping. It's now 4 wide. Logan Helton has to find a way to get back up on the racetrack, though.
That was yellow line there. I don't know if that was entirely legal or not. We're going to have to wait on that, because that was a bit sketchy there in turn 2.
Keep in mind that the yellow line is out of bounds, and it is called an illegal move. Logan Helton has been black flagged for passing underneath the yellow line. He's letting by the rest of the pack.
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know if that black's gonna get cleared just with him following the back, or if he's actually gonna have to come onto pit road here. I guess we're gonna see. But now we got Sean Butler back out in front. They were 4 wide at one point, by the way. We were relatively nonchalant about it, but these guys are still trying to take the whole field into the outside walls. We're gonna go 3 wide for the lead again.
That's Casey Drake up the middle. Butler holding on to the bottom of the racetrack. Corder sliding up on the top line as Helton comes in to serve his black flag now.
And they're reminding these guys now, white line is okay, yellow line is out of bounds. If you go underneath the yellow line, you will get black flagged. If you go into the white line, that's fine. Go into the yellow and you're in trouble.
Keep in mind that the racing is getting very well racy up towards the front. There is a second pack you can see, though, trying to get themselves sorted together. That's Alan Ballacino trying to sort themselves out with Ryan Doucette, Tucker Minto, Lucas Plussel, Jake Matheson, and Walsh, along with Jake Poulin and Clint Roberts, all trying to close up to this battle that is going along 3-4 wide still at the front of the field. And they have now...
Well, they're going to catch him.
Yes.
They're going to catch him now because they were all single file. Well, these guys are battling 2 and 3 wide. That's the easiest trick in the book. Catch them while they're single. While you're single file, they're 3 wide. Go ahead and catch them. And now this is where it's going to get bad.
And drivers were told they have to make reasonable effort to get back up on the racetrack. That's where there is a bit of leniency in case there are drivers pinched underneath that yellow line while they're underneath the white line. But meanwhile, here comes 3-4 wide once again on the outside. It is Casey Drake. Ballacino coming from the second pack now wants to try and lead the third line.
These guys, I don't know how they're still doing it, to be completely honest. I mean, these guys, 210 mile an hour in the pack, 4 wide, You know, these turns are wide until you get 4 wide. Then there's not a lot of room for error. You know, when you're single file, when you're 2 wide, even when you're 3 wide, there's enough wiggle room that you can make a mistake and still get away with it. When you're packed 4 wide here, there is no margin of error at all.
So what do you do as a driver now to make sure you don't make a major mistake here, especially with how racy these drivers want to be early on?
Well, if I was out there, I wouldn't go 4 wide, and if I was 4 wide, I think I might take my hands off the wheel and put them over my eyes so I didn't see what was about to happen next. But you just got to be smart. If you're in a 4 wide situation, personally, I would back out of it. It's lap 19. We've still got more than 3/4 of this race left. There's no point in junking yourself or any other competitor right now in trying to get to the lead. Relax. You got a long way to go. Take a breath. We're going to have pit stops in a while. Just take it easy.
See if they follow that advice now.
Oh, there we go.
Caution is out, and it's out of turn 2. Matthews welcome on the drivers who spin around, and we're back under yellow once more.
That was the absolute best case scenario with that caution. Single car spin, not a lot of damage, nobody else piled in, everybody else was prepared for it. Matthews Whack is the luckiest man on the face of the earth right now.
Yeah, contact with the left rear tire is what sends him around. You'll see right there. Wow.
Yeah, he got a little yiggly, and then the car underneath him, that's Kidda. He got a little yiggly. He washed up the racetrack, and that was just enough to get into Zach and turn him around.
See an arrow look from here, and you can see just how close things got and how dicey things got for the iRacing sponsored machine. That's Jake Poulin we were falling on board with. So that brings us under yellow, coming as laps to go in FTF1. We'll take a quick side-by-side. You're watching STN Racing from iRacing's virtual Michigan International Speedway.
We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. A pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history, from the past to the present, from Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
Welcome back to STN Racing's coverage from Michigan International Speedway. It's the Michigan 200 for FTF1. It's round number 3. Justin Prince Jacob hits with you with Zach Johnson in the director's seat as we're coming to the 1-to-go signal. Interesting calls at the very front of the field. Ethan Coulter, Casey Drake, and Tyra Williams elect not to pit. Everybody else has ducked down pit lane to add more fuel to the respective race cars. And your thoughts so far on the action here, Jacob, especially now with the strategy card coming out?
Well, I said it at the top of the show, and I think I said it after each caution, these guys are being too aggressive. You know, these guys are racing like it's the last 5 laps of the race, and we still got 77 laps to go. You know, the urgency is very high at the front. I don't know if it's because they think they're not going to be able to pass later on older tires, or what the deal is, but you know, I'm surprised with how aggressive these guys are being, especially now. You know, this is our 3rd caution. I figured after the 2nd one we'd just kind of ride around for a little bit, kind of like a plate race, and just kind of get our bearings here, but these guys just went right back at it. And the single file restarts help break it up for a little bit, but the draft is so powerful here that these guys are able to catch up, especially when the leaders start battling and everybody else gets single file behind them. They're able to catch up in a hurry, like we saw in that last green flag run. Plus we have Williams and Quarter, who still haven't pitted yet. They're on 23 lap old tires. Casey Drake is on 13 lap old tires, and everybody else pitted. So we've got interesting strategy here at the front already.
It's definitely been interesting on how the fuel strategy in particular has played out for some of these drivers. The pace car is off and away goes Quarter. And we're back to racing once more from Michigan, and they're already darting around to the bottom of the racetrack in about 7th on back or so. The rest of the field trying to line up and get themselves sorted.
Yeah, Quarter doing a good job, but here comes Drake. He got a great run there on the bottom. Going to move to the outside. Tyler Williams is going to move to the outside. Nobody really wants to work together. Here comes Sean Butler. He's looking up the middle to help Casey Drake up the middle. I think Drake may get the better launch off here. But, I mean, you can both draft, but there could be a big price to pay if you do it, as we're going 3 wide for the lead. Here comes, who the heck is that? That's Minter on the bottom.
Yes, that's Tucker Minter, who is up 16 positions. He attempted to qualify for this race backwards. Yes, you heard that right. The laps, unfortunately for him, did not lead to a time going up on the board, and he's been able to charge his way up to the front, pushing Casey Drake. Quarter being pushed by Butler on the top line.
Thought it was the next gen cars, I guess. Oh, man. Quarter got pushed out of shape there on the high side. That is danger to the 2-car tandem with these cars. Just a slight miscalculation, and you're toast.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky and not easy to do, and it's to the point where Casey Drake's backing out of it. Casey Drake does not like what he's seeing with this tandeming, especially now with the drivers who were running 3 wide of the heart of the pack just a couple laps ago. Now all the way back up to the front. We're just past a quarter of the way through the action. 74 laps to go this time. Butler will lead at the stripe. More side pod contact. Quarter gets hit by Tucker Minter. No damage on their cars.
Now this is pod racing. My gosh, they cannot keep doing that. I mean, Ethan Quarter and Sean Butler almost took out the whole field there in 1 and 2. I mean, Butler came down and almost cleared himself off the quarter and wound up all over the place. Oh!
And now he goes up the racetrack into Minter. That was sketchy.
That was a wreck. They just didn't throw a caution for it. Oh my gosh!
That's Ryan Naraki coming up the middle now with side pod contact. They still keep it straight. It's still 3 wide of the heart of the pack, but now it's Naraki who's looking to move up with the help of the draft from Butler. Back and forth they go.
He got into Walsh. Ooh, and there goes another one up the hill. Man, I mean, it's like bumper cars. They go down in the corner, somebody gets bumped, they lose 10 spots, everybody else flows by them. All right, we keep going. This is unbelievable.
Bit of tire contact now between Quarter and Naraki. In fact, as Naraki that time by got the lead lap. And this continues to be wild.
5 wide.
Yes, indeed. Back to 5 wide again.
My goodness, they almost 5 wide for the lead. Sean Butler thought about it.
Now keep in mind that our IR18 is known for big runs when it comes to IndyCar.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
caution is out. 1 car
upside down. Zwack, Walsh. Oh my gosh.
And that's a good half the field bringing out the caution flag as Zwack finally lands in the 11 machine.
Yeah, him and Walsh got Space Force there. That was Butler that got into... Butler coming back up the track, launched... Both of them, actually. Launched Zwack and launched Walsh. I thought Walsh was going to go into the catch fence for a second here on the front straightaway. He got certainly close to doing it. I mean, this is the big wreck that we were all worried about was going to happen.
Take a look at the bar visuals replay to see what happened here, and you can see just got a little bit too close on the inside with some of the bump drafting, and away they go.
Tucker Minter went underneath his teammate to avoid that wreck and then got into the back of Patrick Fogel after the fact. If we can get an onboard with Tucker Minter, I think he's going to need a new pair of pants after that. My gosh.
Minter now scored in 5th. This is why. Take a look.
He's got a little bit of right front wing damage now, but other than that, my gosh.
That's where the wing damage came from, though. We hit the back end of the cars who are checking up in front.
Yeah, he got into the back of Patrick Fogel, who's now retired the car. But, I mean, this wreck reminds me a lot of 2011 Las Vegas, where you got people ramping off of each other. And that's one reason I think that IndyCar is kind of strayed away from these big racetracks and big pack racing, is because they don't want people to start ramping off each other. I know IndyCar's done a good job of changing the aerodynamics, so they stopped doing that for the most part, but it still happens. I mean, you had Scott Dixon go flying at Indy a couple of years ago, and this is really, really dangerous. We're lucky that this is iRacing and that there aren't actual people sitting inside these race cars when they go flying, because that had the potential to be really, really bad.
Let's take an air look one more time.
And they're going to put this on Butler, and put the blame on Butler on this one, according to race control.
But he was involved in the incident. Keep in mind, is already in the pit lane with the tow. So that will factor in to the potential penalties here, as drivers went upside down, lost tire rods and tie rods in the incident. An interesting one, to say the very least. Ryan Araki, by the way, gets the wave under this caution flag period here for this one in our biggest wreck of the day so far.
And remember Matt Spalding, who wrecked on lap 2? He's now leading. Just in case you forgot about him, he's now leading this thing.
And we're lucky that the virtual fans aren't in the stands right now, we will say that much, because there was a tire, by the way, that did fly into the grandstands with the new damage model. So that's an interesting wrinkle here. By the way, Spalding, Poulin, Kidda all stayed out this caution flag period here for the track position with 68 to go.
Yeah, Michigan is not a track that should really be worried about a car getting up into the catch fence, since IndyCar hasn't come here for a long time. So I can understand the fact that, you know, we don't have like mile-long catch fencing like we do at the plate tracks and some other place where they're worried about cars getting up in the air and things flying off in the stands. But I feel like wherever IndyCar goes on an oval, the catch fence should be raised a good bit to prevent things from flying in, just because it can get very scary very quickly. I mean, even at Texas last week, on the green flag, we had a car turn over at start-finish line when half the field piled up. I mean, it wasn't awful. The Halo certainly did a great job of protecting Connor Daly, there's no doubt about it, but I mean, that's not something anybody wants to go through. Can't even get to the start-finish line and you're upside down in your lid. These cars are flat-out dangerous.
It's been an interesting race, though. We will say that so far. Coming up to 67 laps to go, and so far we're now up to 7 leaders with 15 lead changes, with 4 caution flags, 8 of them under the caution flag period. Laps totals turned, I should say. It's now Spalding, Poulin, Kidda, followed by Mercurio, Corder, Ballacino, Williams, Roberts, Helton, Dewandney, rounding out the top 10 for this restart. Green flag's back out. Back underway, and a great launch from the leader, and they're already fanning out to the bottom of the racetrack, several rows deep.
Well, yeah, they're fanning out because Spalding kind of backed off coming to the line and then floored it, and we almost had people driving over the back of people. I saw Justin Melillo's life flash before his own eyes. I thought he was going to have a car ramp over the back of him on the front straightaway. That got very, very scary back there.
How about this for very scary? A move all the way down to the apron for Brian Mercurio. Put him to the race lead for the first time today. Spalding now shuffled to second, but Ethan Corder, who has been a presence up at the front all race long, back up to the point as well, heading towards the stripe.
And, you know, we had that big wreck, business as usual up here at the front. All over the place, 3 and 4 wide. Keep your foot in it. Every position matters. And we're 16 laps away from halfway, too. My goodness.
It's been an interesting race once more in this one, as now Helton tries to run the middle line. And Helton's someone who has always impressed me as a driver. He made a name for himself in the California Clash. Now is with one of the top organizations in sim racing. As meanwhile, look at this. Justin Melillo makes it 4 wide for the point once more. How about 5 wide as Melillo has to back off?
They're going to try 5 wide again. Oh, now Melillo backed off for good, and we're good. But, I mean, these guys, look at this middle line. They are all over the place. Mercurio and Helton. I don't think they went straight at all down the back straightaway, and they still wound up in the front.
It's been so intriguing to see how these drivers have handled some of these bumps being taken in. Helton with a big bump from Walsh. Once more, though, the Pied Piper at some of these big tracks like this.
Oh, teammates! Teammates in the wall. It's Walsh and it's Minter. The 2 guys that were fighting for the win last week in the feature, and they're both in the safer barrier.
The Splash and Go factory team powered by Spud Cauliflower gets involved in this caution flag. And boy, oh boy, Walsh, keep in mind, was in the middle line and then shot straight up the track into Minter.
Yeah, Corder kind of came up off the yellow line, and that pushed Walsh up the racetrack, and it pushed Walsh's car up into the air at first when they made contact, and when you're up in the air, your tire's onto the ground, so you don't have any control. You can't steer, you can't stop because you can't brake, you can't do anything, and when he got to the corner, the car just kept going up and up and up and up and up, almost like he was driving on PJ1, and just straight up into the wall, and nowhere for his teammate to go at all.
A very tough break, especially for Minter, who had to take a tow as a result of this incident. And both the tires broken on Walsh. He's also, of course, had to take the tow. So both of them are in the pit lane. Let's take a look at this once more, full speed. Once more, just nowhere to go, as that car absolutely demolished and goes straight back into the wall a second time, trying to keep going.
All right, so pit stops here. Looks like almost everybody's coming. Casey Drake's going to stay out. And let's see, Kidda and Poulin, and everybody else is in.
It's been intriguing how this is all played out in terms of the fuel window, because here's the thing, you never know if you get a long green flag run. That's why these drivers are trying to play the strategy game on topping off on fuel. The tires aren't the major factor because drivers reported minimal tire wear, and this is with the hard compounded tires, but you never know how the fuel mileage could play out for this type of a race.
Especially with the amount of cautions that we keep getting. I mean, as much as I want strategy to be a factor, I don't think we're going to get to a point where strategy is going to be a factor. Now, here's one thing, because Indianapolis is the other oval that's up on the schedule. Indianapolis is not going to be like this when we get there in a couple weeks. This is like an auto club. We've seen what IndyCar could do at auto club, where they're packed 3 wide, 5 rows deep, you know, that kind of stuff. Indianapolis is a lot different, and things are going to be a little more chaotic than they usually are for like the Indy 500, but I think it's going to be calmer than what we're seeing here. You can't go 3 wide, 4 rows deep in Indianapolis easily or with a lot of talent.
Absolutely, and now we'll see how things play out, since it's still a projected one stop, I believe, on the gas for a majority of the field. Coming up to 61 to go to reset your field once more. It's Drake, Kita, followed by Poulin, Mercurio, Helton, Ballacino, Roberts, Plussel, followed by Zwack, Malillo, now the top 10. Spalding into set, electing to go to the back this time under caution. Who has really impressed you the most with what you've seen so far today, though, in your opinion? As, by the way, to the back of the line will go Ethan Corder from that incident.
I think the pace car driver's done a pretty good job tonight. It hasn't been like, was that Detroit where the pace car wiped out on the initial lap? It was a couple years ago in IndyCar. I don't remember what track it was. I think it was Detroit because ABC was covering it. But the pace car's got it under control tonight. Really. Casey Drake just kind of came out of nowhere. Now he's been lurking up at the front. I think it's because he hasn't been involved in a wreck yet that he's stayed up there, and if he gets involved in a wreck, he'll slide to the back like we've seen happen with everybody else. But Matt Spalding kind of impressed me with the fact that, he wound up in the fence on lap 2, and he was back leading the thing 30 laps later. We've had a lot of cautions, but, he fell laps down with having the tow and then using his fast repair. So he's really got a lot to lose and not a ton to gain, but he shows that he's still got a good race car, and he's looking to get back up to the front.
We'll see how this restart now plays out. 60 to go from Michigan. And Drake this time going for a later restart. A bit of a checkup, in fact, forcing several drivers to bobble to the left, about third or fourth on back, as they're already starting to fan out from that.
That's the glory or the detriment of single file restarts, is that instead of 2 people at the front leading the charge, it's only one thing gets dictated off of that person. If the first car in line screws up, the entire field's going to feel the effects as Brian Kita. Holy cow!
What a move as well from Jake Poulin to go on the apron and pass by his fellow friend and compatriot. Now Mercurio works at the bottom with Poulin. Kita now works on the top line. Bit of a pinch now coming in with the bump draft coming from Logan Helton. Helton all to the back end, once more of the 78 all the way to the back end and picking up the back tires a little bit as well, trying to bump draft forward.
Yeah, that can't be good for grip when you pick the rear tires up off the ground. Doesn't matter what you're driving.
Yeah, and it's not good when, again, you damage the front wing, because the front wing can really affect how much speed you can push and try and pull on forward. And now, pulling on forward to the point, Logan Helton now leads the bottom line.
That was bold. That was risky, but he made it pay off.
And it takes a lot of skill, to say the very least, to drive these types of cars.
Oh, trouble!
Middle of the race.
I think that's Spalding around. Yeah, it is. And he's broke.
Caution is out once more as we approach halfway now, as it was contact coming out of turn 2 and down the middle of the straightaway. Spalding making tire-to-tire contact with Kita.
Yeah, well, it wasn't as much tire. Just Spalding, his right front got into right in front of the left rear on his car, and that caused him to check up, and then Ethan Corder nowhere to go but straight into the back of Spalding to turn him around. Such a shame, because I just talked about Spalding, the fact that, he was able to rebound nicely, but Kita definitely came down. He was not clear. I think that falls on Kita more than anything, but I don't know.
But that just shows how quick the reaction time you have to have here is. You'll have maybe a couple tenths of a second, maybe half a second at the very most, to be able to react to some of the moves around you.
And Matt Spalding not too happy either. He says that that's more netcode more than anything, but he says that, yeah, Kita came down into him.
See how this now affects the strategy for our drivers here, as majority of the leaders appear to want to stay. Oh no, some of them electing now to come in. Jake Poulin is the one who leads them down the pit lane. Mercurio, Frisch, Roberts, Doucette among those coming in this time by. And the attrition starting to build up too, because drivers are starting to run out of faster pairs in this event, Jacob.
That's why I said you shouldn't be this aggressive early on. So you'd still have a faster pair at the end, but you know, these guys just, they say heck with it. They're going to push it to the limits, and they're going to find out by lap 75, and we only have 15 cars left, that, hey, maybe we should have hung on to that faster pair. We should have waited a little bit to go 3 and 4 wide, but it's their funeral.
And the reason why 15th is a big number for this race, that's again where the points cutoff is. Now let's talk about balance points a little bit more in depth. As talked about, Minter and Walsh lead the standings after the first 2 rounds entering tonight. Jonathan Oates scored 18 points in those 2 rounds to score himself in third. Doucette, Corder round out the top 5 with 12 and 10 points respectively. Anthony Burrows also scored 8 points in the opening round, tied with Tyler Williams. That number, Brandon Hawkin, scored 7 points in the first round, followed by Blake McCandless, who is in 9th. Rudy Valentine rounded out the top 10 entering tonight with 5 total points. Overall, decent amount of drivers scored points to start off the campaign. Keep in mind, the system has various different types. With the sprint race scoring 10 points, for example, in the opening round of the season. Then the feature race scored 25 for the race winner, based on the current F1 system. But for these drivers, they'll get 1 to go this time by, as the championship could be in a major flux after tonight, to say the very least, depending on how things shake out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not something that we're thinking about really. You know, it's only the 3rd race of the season. Thinking about championships, you know, that's so far away. But I mean, really, it's only 4 weeks away. I think they only have 5 or 6 races left. A couple of doubleheaders at the road course, and then some singles at the road courses plus Indianapolis. So it's going to be fun. You know, I just because this is the 2nd different track that they've gone to, I'm not necessarily thinking of points, but you're right. It's going to start creeping into the minds of these drivers after tonight that, hey, we only have a couple more chances to get a good amount of points to have a factor here at winning the championship.
And the emphasized point of that too, Jacob, is this is also a time for drivers to have fun and experiment. For some, it's some of their first times possibly in this car, the DeLorme IRL1.
Yeah, you know, you don't. I mean, this thing's pretty new too, so nobody really across the board has a ton of experience with these things, but they're certainly putting on a great show tonight.
By the way, Logan Helton in control of the field, really backing up this time, wanting a lot of space for this launch. When does he take it is the question. The pace car's already down. Zwack, Mercurio, Poulin, Roberts behind him. He'll stack the box all the way to the green flag, off and away, and now they're scrambling. Lots of tire spin as Helton goes for the block. Mercurio goes to the inside for the race lead.
Oh man.
And Helton into the wall. No caution yet. Now the caution is out as they crash in turn 1.
I mean, I don't know where you thought that was going to go. But Sauer, I mean, wow. And Logan Helton's still upside down.
An interesting moment in this race. After a big run from Mercurio to the inside. Keep in mind, there was the yellow line, so you have to think that might have factored in. But keep in mind, drivers were given a bit of leniency in case they were pinched down there into the corner.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that falls on whoever was on the inside there. I think that falls directly on Mercurio. Just because, I mean, he didn't have the room, you're going to have to give the spot up. We're not even at halfway yet. I don't know why we're making moves like that aggressive when we've got more than half of this race to go, especially on a restart.
Yeah, this moment definitely shakes up how this plays out.
Well, and race control agrees with me. They're putting that on Mercurio, so.
It's going to put him at the back of the field for this once more. Mercurio back in 16th position already as a hard hit for Helton. I believe a third driver was also involved, getting into contact with Helton. That ended up demolishing one of their tires as well. You'll see, I believe that might have been Matheson. Tough break for Jake Matheson, who had nowhere to go as the car came down the racetrack.
Yeah, and I don't believe that's his first caution or his first accident of the night either. Just we've had a lot of people get involved in accidents tonight.
So Zwack stays out this time followed by Roberts, Poole, Quarter, Butler, Williams, along with Kita. Drake was the first driver to come off the pit lane this sequence, followed by Balacino, Dewodney, followed by Maluro, Frisch, Naraki, and Plussel. At the moment, Tuckerman, by the way, the last car running on the racetrack, but Doucette and Mercurio have had lengthy pit stops under this caution flag. When we get back in our way, it's going to approach halfway. Mercurio, by the way, done for the night. He is now one of your DNF. So how do you see the second half of the race now playing out, knowing that a vast majority of the field's been collected into trouble, but this is also a chance for drivers to essentially fight for what's now essentially on the lead lap, points paying positions left on the racetrack?
Well, second verse, probably same as the first, a little bit louder and a little bit worse. I think we're going to get a couple more cautions. We're going to see a lot more decisions that'll make you scratch your head and wonder what on earth we're doing. But, you know, that's part of racing. You know, we get down to the crunch time and the IQ points start to drop a little bit from everybody across the board. And you know, like I said, it's a part of racing. We expect it. We know it's common. Pretty much no matter where we go, whether it's Talladega or Martinsville or even Sonoma, we get a caution late in the race, and we know the restart's going to be absolute chaos. And we know that everybody's going to do everything they can to try and gain spots, even if that means putting somebody else in the wall. But I mean, lights are out on the pace car. We're going to get a restart with 50 laps to go, and these are going to be a long 50 laps.
Cato will start at the back of the field. He was scheduled to start in 5th position. That's why you see him now at the bottom of the racetrack. It's Swack, Poole, Quarter, Butler, Drake, Balacino, Minter, who is now back in the conversation in 7th, Doucette, Frisch, Nowotny, who will be the top 10 for the restart. Matheson and Helton have also finished up repairs of more than 3 minutes, respectively, for their cars. They are multiple laps down, however. They'll need several caution flags to get themselves in position to be back on the lead lap. So a chance for Matthew Swack to now dictate the pace here, and we've seen different restart procedures in terms of when drivers want to go. A lot of the drivers have been stacking the box. Some have elected to go early today.
Just be glad we're at the truck series. Only 9 trucks have not been involved in an accident tonight. We're a little better than they are right now.
50 laps to go. Halfway home in the Michigan 200. We're off and away. And a bit of contact. About third on back. Sean Butler jumps his way up into 3rd position as a result. Quarter gets shuffled back a couple positions off the launch.
And Zwack going to hang on to the lead, pulling to 2nd, and Butler, Quarter, and Drake, then Balacino, Minter, who's back in this thing, and then Naraki, Doucette, and Kita. That's, I think, your top 10 are close enough to your top 10. But now it's going to be on Butler and everybody else to try and reel in these top 2. Won't be long now because here comes Zwack for the lead on the high side.
That's going to really hold them up. We've talked about this before, where it's up to half a second minimum. Now the whole pack is there. Nowhere for Butler to go. Quarter has some space to go on the outside. Back 3 wide for the race lead once more. It's Casey Drake, Tucker Minter, Ryan Nawaki and company now also join the fray.
Yeah, we're back to this good stuff. You know, this is, again, what we expect with about 20 to go, not 50 to go. But I understand, especially at this rate, clearly we're not choosing how we're driving. So you're going to have to be aggressive so you stay at the front so you can hopefully avoid the wreck. And then, have a shot just to survive, really. So at this point, I'm all for the pushing just because we proved we can't do anything else tonight. So if you're going to be aggressive, you might as well just make it a show for everybody.
Well, Valentino tries to take it to the very outside line. Around Kita doesn't make that work. Clinton Roberts takes advantage as a result. 3 wide for the race lead once more. No help, though, for Casey Drake. And for Michael Frisch, he was several laps down in this race after hard contact earlier. He's back in contention for the race lead, trying to push on forward, as now Drake tries to take it 3 wide once more.
Yeah, I mean, Frisch has snuck his way back up in there. Corder was involved in the accident earlier. He's back up there. We already talked about, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on him. Spalding, he made it up there. And, oh, man, 4 wide for second. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Corder almost got killed.
And Corder able to hold on to it, though, and he sends the run right back nearly into Butler. Goes back into the grass as well for good measure as they squeeze in pinch. Huge blocking up for the race lead, though, with the bump drafting in tandem. Zwack and Poulin liking to work together. Corder trying to break them up.
Every time someone makes a really aggressive move, I think they're going head on into the outside wall. These guys have me so on edge here.
These drivers are racing. Keep in mind that several drivers have lost the draft as a result of some of the shuffling. Tyler Williams, Jake Matheson, Logan Helton have lost the draft. Everybody else, though, is within distance of this pack.
Frisch does a good job sliding into second there.
It's indeed the Captain Crunch machine looking to try and take a bite out of the race lead. And a decent bump to the back end of Butler. Matthew Zwack trying to squeeze on down as well. Ethan Corder now is the driver who will work with Zwack this time. 44 laps to go still in this race.
Who is that? Who is that storming up the outside line? Holy cow, is that Kita?
Yes, it is. Has no help, though, to draft on by. Back to 2 wide once more at the front of the field. Seems to have gone to a bit of a calmer pace for the most part. Outside a Corder trying to take it 3 wide nonchalantly. It's been one of our longest green flag runs of the race so far.
Oh, come on, Justin. Don't jinx us like that.
I'm just stating the facts. Especially, though, it's 4 wide in the second and third rows. Zwack now gets contact.
Oh, there he goes.
And there is the curse coming into play for the caution flag at 40.
Corder
this time.
Corder, Kita, Zwack, all toast. And I mean, Justin Prince, everybody. I mean, we saw it coming, though. These guys would be way too aggressive all night long. We saw it coming. And that, I don't know if they're going to put that on Zwack or on Frisch. I'll need to get another angle of it. But, I mean, Zwack just got zwacked by Frisch and then wound up in Corder's way and just nowhere to go.
See a touch bit of contact coming up to play with the left side tires from Zwack. Right side tire.
I think that's net code more than anything because there is more than enough room between the two. I think that's going to fall on Frisch just because he came up off the yellow line just a little bit. I mean, he came up because that's where the racetrack is. But I can see them absolutely putting that on Frisch because he came up on the racetrack doing what he was supposed to do. Zwack didn't give an inch, and netcode bit him there.
It definitely bit Corder significant damage here and having to definitely take the tow as a result here. Just no penalty,
so that's a good call. because that absolutely was netcode that caused that. So that is a good call by the officials there.
I believe we're coming up towards that window where drivers have to start considering, can they make it to the end? Jake Poulin elects to stay out. Everybody else appears to come in this time to make sure they can top up on fuel. That was a run, by the way, of approximately 8 laps under green. Justin Malone will also stay out with Poulin with Naraki.
Somebody do the math. Is that the longest green flag run of the night that we've actually had?
Give or take.
Oh
close.
my gosh. Well, let me see. I'm looking here. So we made it 1 lap. 3 laps.
This is where math is. Let's go side by.
Well, actually, okay. We had a 9-lap run earlier on, so can confirm that was not the longest run we had.
Indeed. So we'll take you side by side. When we come back, get you to the closing stages of this race. You're watching FTF1 from STN Racing on, once more, iRacing's virtual Michigan International Speedway.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to STN Racing's coverage of FTF1, where Jake Poulin's in the race lead, the only driver to stay out this pit sequence. He's among the 10 different leaders we've seen, as we're back to racing an early launch this time from Jake Poulin. And a big launch, in fact, over Sean Butler and the rest of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, he even caught me sleeping up here. I was like, oh, wait, we're back green already. He was long gone there.
And a great launch, but Butler with that draft is already up to him at 215 miles an hour down the back straightaway, weaving back and forth, able to trick him out. Teammates, though, are starting to work together. It's Nwani and Roberts who are hooked up third and fourth.
Plus, you got Rocky Malillo right behind him as well. So we've got teammates teaming up all over the racetrack right now, trying to get to the front. This feels like 2011 Talladega and Daytona, if I've ever seen it in Indy cars, but nonetheless.
Butler now officially to the race lead. Poulin now ditched on the high side. Now it becomes a 3-car breakaway. You also have, as mentioned, Rocky and Malillo working together. Tucker, Minter, Ballacino, Williams also inside that draft. The rest of the field has lost touch to this field, this pack rather, of more than 2 seconds.
Well, I think that early jump may have had something to do with that too, just because everybody got super strung out. So unless you had a teammate to help you catch back up, you're pretty much a sitting duck.
So it's a 9-car breakaway as a result as we fall on board on the top line once more. That was with Justin Maluo, third in line on the top. Pulin's able to find some help now with the Rocky to be able to push him forward, back up to the race lead, and back to the inside line. Keep in mind, Maluo was talking about this pre-race where it's a brand new wheel for him. So having to get used to brand new equipment before tonight's action.
He's done pretty well for himself, though, with that new wheel, though. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. But all those teammates have been broken up here now as a result of all this shuffling. Coming up to 35 to go. Butler now gets the help this time. A little bit squirrely that time into the corner entry for Butler. As they start clipping the apron.
Nah, they're driving good.
Race lead goes to Rocky this time. And this is starting to get a bit more calmer to where we started off for comparison's sakes, Jacob, where these drivers are now getting comfortable, it looks like, compared to where before it wasn't as comfortable. It was, how do I put this? Uncontrolled chaos? Is that the best way to put it?
Well, the difference is the packs that we've had have always had like 15 cars in it. We only have 9 cars in this lead pack right now. That's why things seem relatively calm. It's because you don't have as big a runs because you don't have as many people drafted off each other. We're still getting scary, and I think we may still see right before this thing's said and done from this group, but it isn't as chaotic here at the front than it has been the last 60 laps or so.
I agree with you on that one, and in turn, keep in mind all this shuffling with some of the incidents have cycled some of the drivers who lost the draft last run, like Tyler Williams back into the fray. Brian Doucette and Lucas Plussel, by the way, are starting to close back in, are now within the draft of this top 9. The rest of the field, 12 on back, though, is out of range by more than 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah, they're picking for a caution right now.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, the reason why you've seen 4 drivers in that grouping, Ethan Corder, Logan Helton are also in that group, looking to join the fray and try and gain a lap back. Corder 2 laps down, Helton 1 lap down. First driver 1 lap down, in fact. .32 to go.
Zwack has parked it, so he's done for the night. He's going to finish in the 18th spot out of the race, looks like.
That's still out of the points. But it's down to 17 cars running now as a result of that incident for him earlier on in this race. But
we've only got 13 on the lead lap, too.
Absolutely. Jake Pullen is elected to back out. He is not liking what he's seen now. How about 4 wide once more with Justin Malone turning it back to 3 wide. But Tucker Minter wants to bring his car to the point. Coming up to 30 laps to go this time by. And what a recovery for the Splash and Go factory team powered by Spud Cauliflower Machine.
Nice rebound for him after getting involved in that wreck with his teammate.
Gonna have to be careful though. And keep in mind the lap cars, as well as the other 2 drivers who are in the lead lap who lost the draft, are back in it. Turn this into a 13-car pack now for the final 30 or so laps.
Man, who was that blazing up the outside? That was, it was Pullen, that's who it was. Came rocketing up the outside, got to the back of quarter, had nowhere to go, and then fell back.
And you can tell some of these drivers want to play it safe here at this point. And right now, based on how this race could play out, when do you make the move, in your opinion, Jacob?
I mean, you can't wait too long. Because remember, we don't have green, white, checkered, so if they wreck, this race could finish under caution. I'd make the move with about 10 to go. Or start thinking about making the move, try and pull some strings with about 10 laps to go. Just because that should build enough intensity where if you're going to wreck, you should really try and do it by like 6 to go or before that, just so you can get a restart in, and then it's just going to be bedlam those last 2 laps. But I think by 10 to go, if you aren't making the move or thinking about the move that you're going to make, trying to set it up, you're in trouble.
With you on that one, as you see right now them fanning apart and battling apart. That once again.
Tyler Williams.
Yes, I was about to say, what a run for him now to try and take the race lead. Williams trying to wheel it on the high line once more. Trying to build up some momentum, but doesn't have any help. Justin Malillo pops out to the middle line.
Got back down in front of him now. He kind of went up to pick up Quarter and then came back down to pick up Malillo. I don't know if that was a strategy or if the car just got too tight on exit there or what.
Yeah, that's actually a good discussion point with these cars. How much do you think aero wash may be a factor with these major speeds?
I mean, a lot. I mean, you know, we haven't seen it be too much of a factor so far. But you got to keep in mind, this is by far, I know, jinx time, the longest green flag run of the night. 15 laps. They have not been on tires this old at all tonight. I'm sure not even in practice. So they're going to be slipping and sliding, and the aero is not going to make it easy for them. No doubt about it.
25 laps to go now. They've really settled into a rhythm. It's a question of, will drivers start to be able to break away? We'll have to wait and see, especially with some of the side-by-side fighting about the 4th row on back. Jake Pullen's done an impressive job on a very different cycle compared to everybody else to keep himself up here inside the top 3 now.
Yeah, his tires, the age of his tires are doubled compared to everybody else around him. I can't believe he's hanging in there as well as he is.
The interesting thing is going to be, can he make it on the gas? Is going to be the biggest question. He'd have to make a long way in this race, about 50 laps.
Well, with the cautions, I'm saying there's a chance. I don't know how good of a chance, but a chance nonetheless.
Potentially, especially when he has some help, who's been willing to push and pull him. Malillo this time is the help this time. Sean Butler still hugging the very bottom of the racetrack. And the interesting when it comes to Butler is he's someone that always races as hard as he can to try and keep up to the front of the field. And he's done that all night. Now he has to watch his corner, gets contact.
Oh, that's Quarter. That's his race. He's toast. Remember, he was trying to get his lap back, and he spun in the middle of the racetrack. There's nobody else coming, though. We're still green. Get off the track, Quarter. Come on, there you go. He's gone. We're good. Green.
We'll stay green. 1-car incident. No one else collected in that incident. That could have been much more bigger, and that was a caution a couple drivers wanted to potentially see, but do not get. Ryan Doucette, meanwhile, is now wanting to make his push to the front.
With Palazzo there, here they come storming up the outside.
Bouncing them back.
Spalding has parked the car. Quarter has parked the car. So 2 more out of this one.
Keita is now the last car running on the racetrack and the only driver not scoring points at the moment. But to the point, Tucker Minter with the help of his bud, Ryan Doucette. And Ryan Doucette, him and his team having an interesting paint scheme for tonight. A mix of some of the paint schemes seen in FTF Grand National Series competition for the Walter Zoop House presented by XSE Sports Machine. That's why the Walter is on Ryan Doucette's car and staring right at Doucette on each and every one of these laps. But More importantly, we're at 20 to go. Coming up to 19 laps to go.
Just want to make sure that car said Zoo Pals, because I have seen a paint scheme. I don't remember what series it was in, but it was, instead of Zoo Pals, it was Poop Pals. Just want to make sure that we were on 2 different pages there, and we are.
Think you're talking about the Bristol Dirt Race for FTF Grand National Series competition in that regards to that. But either way, Ryan Doucette's done a very impressive job working his way back to the front. He's been towards the back much this race, though. He's kept his car clean, though, to say the very least. He started in 6th position, keep in mind.
This is the most we've talked about him since the drop of the green flag.
I mean, like, he has not been up here at all tonight.
Hasn't been involved in a wreck. As we got somebody coming to pit road. It's Butler.
Yeah. And strategy.
Can they not make it?
I don't believe so. So the strategy card may have just opened for some. Sean Butler rolling the dice with 18 to go.
Now I understand why these guys were whining that they didn't get that caution for quarter. It's because they can't make it to the end on fuel. Which, if that's the case, I don't know how Jake Pullen is still out on the racetrack. Because they're going to have to go about as far as Pullen is right now to make it to the end. So I don't understand this. And here, is that somebody else coming? Yeah, it's
That's
Tyler Williams.
Yes, Tyler Williams coming in for pit stop service. Butler 7.2 seconds in the pit box. So, and this was something drivers discussed. They used 10 liters of fuel. That's 2.64 gallons or so in the pit stop in just the span of 4 laps. That was in qualifying. So, you do the math with 21 gallons. What do you get? About this point for some of these drivers, if not a mileage race, for some of these competitors possibly, depending on when they've come in and how many times they've topped off. Nwadney has also had to come into pit. Some of these aero drivers have stretched it now to 25 laps in the stint. Pullen is still the furthest along on the gas and trying to charge back up the line.
40 laps. I'm lost at this point.
He's only been running 209 miles an hour compared to the 217 some of the aeros have been running. We'll see if we get any aero drivers ducking down with 15 laps to go. Leaders selecting to stay out. It looks like no one will come in this time. By the way, the drivers who have come out of the pit lane are all the way only about a quarter of the racetrack ahead of this pack. Butler leads the drivers who have come in for fuel, coming to 14 to go this time. And these drivers are outrunning the drivers out of the pit lane in some cases by a couple tenths.
Fresh tires can do wonders. Doesn't matter the track.
At the same time, though, think about this. The big draft is also going to come into play.
Here comes Pullen, finally.
So he could not make it or stretch it along. 42 laps was the furthest he could go overall in the tank. Will anyone else have to duck down? Coming to 13 to go this time. Leaders are running 35 laps now.
It's 42 laps with at least 2 cautions in there. So you're going to think he had at least about 6 laps to save fuel under caution. How much that saved him, I don't know. But I would think that these guys, I don't think anybody can make it. If he could only make it 42 laps with 2 cautions in there, these guys haven't had a caution yet. They're definitely not going to be able to make it to the end.
It's a big talking point for some of the drivers to figure, okay, can we make it to the end? And we're seeing it definitely come into play. Coming up to 12 to go. Minter still leads. Doucette, second car on the bottom. Maluro leads the top line. They all stay out. 9 cars are in this lead pack for the final 12 laps. And they're starting to become more and more strung out. And a lot of them have really backed it down to the 190s, in fact. Some of them really trying to save hard here. This is the slowest the main pack has been all day, in fact, for some of these speeds.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Backing up to 200 miles an hour this time, coming up to 11 to go.
We got it's Frisch coming in.
Michael Frisch can only make it to about 29 laps on his fuel stints. Clint Roberts is also backing off. Lucas Plussel now joining some of the fray. Malillo now being ditched on the top line.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be it right here. We're gonna see everybody else come in. At least most of these guys, the way they're acting. We'll find out. Well, they had me fooled.
The thing is, when they come in, it's going to be pretty crazy, to say the very least, how the sequence is going to go. Especially since, for a lot of these drivers, they may have not practiced pitting under green with these cars yet.
Well, and you also have to keep in mind that the longer these guys wait, that significantly narrows the margin of error they have. They make a mistake on pit road and they get a caution, they're able to rebound from it. They make a mistake on pit road and we get a caution and it's too late. We may not go green again, and if we do, we'll only have 1 or 2 laps. So they're really putting themselves in a box.
Michael Frisch, by the way, only took 3.4 seconds in the pit lane, and that cycled him about 1.8 seconds ahead of the rest of the drivers on his strategy. They are closing in quickly, though, so keep that in mind. Michael Frisch is the net leader for the drivers who have had to duck down to the pit lane in regards to that strategy. One more driver jumping up the line. It's Jake Matheson, who is 1 lap down, who's now trying to take this opportunity to unlap himself here, coming to 8 laps to go.
I think some of these guys are going to try and make it. Watching guys like Noraki and Malillo, they're backing off. They are trying as best they can to keep the momentum through the draft. So that way they're not using as much throttle, they're not using as much fuel, trying to make it to the end.
The thing is, how many do you think can make it, based on what we've seen from Poulin?
I think anywhere from Malillo on back has the best chance. Now, Rocky should be close. I think Minter and Doucette, they're digging themselves their own grave right now by leading the charge. I think Noraki might be able to make it, but everybody from Malillo on back has been significantly backing off. I think they've got the best shot here.
And now, adding the complication is Jake Matheson. He'll unlap himself here in this sequence. Now, they come towards 7, closing to 6 to go this time. Minter now has a chance to save off the back end of the blue machine.
But he's still using a lot of gas to stay up. He's not backing off and letting the draft do the work. He's doing the work instead. That's not a fantastic idea, trying to save fuel at this kind of track.
Yeah, but they have to try something right, especially if you're in the race lead. They have now gone into where they're matching times with the other pack, by the way. They have now actually, if anything, recorded some of their fastest laps of the day. 5 laps to go this time by. This continues to be so dicey for the guy.
I tell you what, Minter may wind up turning Matheson here. I mean, he has gotten very close to absolutely wiping him out. And at this point, if that happens, we're done. There is no restart from here on out. We're at the point of no return.
Tucker
Minter's coming in.
He's just had to indicate he's had to come into pit.
I knew there was no way he could make it. With how much he was on the gas, there was no possible way that he could make it to the flag.
Now all eyes turn to Ryan Doucette. Can he make it? They also have Noraki lined up with Roberts. Justin Malillo is also in this group. The rest of the field is backed off more than 2 seconds.
I think Roberts and Malillo might have the best chance. They're being pretty aggressive with saving fuel. The guys like Balashino and Drake that have really dropped off the face of the earth, they may have a good chance. I don't know what's up with Matheson, but he just pulled out of the way. Doucette kind of pulled out of the way. So now Rocky's leading this thing with 3 to go this time. This is going to be like Kansas 2006. Everybody's going to run out in the last lap.
That was an interesting race in stock cars indeed. But now, we are past that point of no return. Noraki, going for the race lead, takes the point away from Clint Roberts. Doucette trying to line things back up. They continue to back things on down behind them to more than 3 seconds back from about 5th on behind.
And you got to remember, if we do get a caution, you have to maintain speed under pacing to make it to the end, which is going to be killer for these guys that are close on fuel.
Roberts takes the lead lap that time. 2 laps to go.
These guys being side by side isn't going to help their cause either. If anything, it's helping Doucette in third, who's just riding around and waiting.
And the Lowe's really backed it on down to the 190s, in fact, to try and get to the end. To take the white flag, race is official. Roberts trying to wheel it in the middle line. Naraki trying to wheel it against the yellow line. Closing in on the final lap for FTF1's Michigan 200. Here comes Doucette for the white flag.
This is going to be something. I think Doucette was kind of saving everything he had, and then this lap he's going to go. Problem is he doesn't have any draft help. Roberts is staying with Naraki. That's going to push Doucette back behind him. He's going to have one more shot here down the backstretch to make anything happen, but 3 cars, Doucette's the odd man out right now.
Doucette's making it work, though, on the high line for now. Can he get enough pull? On by himself. Malillos ran out. He's slowing down the back straightaway. It's coming down to these 3. Into the wall they go.
Up and over.
Clint Roberts will take the checker flag and win the FTF1 Michigan 200.
I cannot believe they had enough fuel to make it to the end there. That was and Malillo, the guy that I thought was going to make it, he ran out and the top 3 made it. I can't believe that Doucette made it. Well, I think he made it to the line up on his roof, but I can't believe he had enough fuel to make it all the way to the flag. Yeah, he did. He slid across the line Clint Boyer style, and oh my goodness, Alan Balashino. Olympic flips down here into turn 1. Holy cow. They're still wrecking, racing back to the line. That's everybody else. Ugh.
What a closing lap, to say the very least here, Jacob. What a way to win this for Clint Roberts. Contact between Naraki and Doucette in the final corner, coming to the final straightaway. And Roberts is the man who takes the checkered by 1.4 seconds over Naraki as a result, as we see the bar visuals replay.
And Clint Roberts is out of fuel. He ran out in turn 1. He made it to turn 1 and the thing shut off on him, so he just barely had enough fuel to make it.
Incredible stuff as well, and incredible battles. Keep in mind, results are not official.
Yeah, I was going to say, hold on.
For these respective competitors, with some of the craziness here for this final lap.
I don't know here. We're going to have to go, look at this again here. With the finish, at least. I don't think... Let me see if I can get a decent angle of this. I don't put that on Clint Roberts. I mean, he's down there. Naraki came down into him. Roberts isn't going to lift. It's the last lap. You're driving aggressive all freaking night long. If they take this away from Clint Roberts, I don't know. That seems a little fishy. Below the yellow.
Yes.
Am I going crazy? Oh.
And that's not allowed to run underneath the yellow line and pass underneath the yellow. So that would be what. Let's take a look at this full speed.
I don't...
It's going to be close.
I think he's on the line. Because the line transitions right there, he doesn't get alongside anybody until he's under that yellow, until he's under that white line. Not the yellow one.
Yeah, but he was still underneath part of the yellow line. That's the thing. Again, this is all unofficial. The race results is currently under review.
Ryan Naraki is your race winner. Wow.
So an interesting sequence here to close things out. And once again, it was emphasized, yellow line is out of bounds. Clint Roberts, EOL as a result here.
Clint Roberts knows what it feels like to be Justin Haley. That's all I'm going to say. My goodness.
So again, Ryan Naraki is scored your race winner in this one. Again, in what was a crazy finish and what turned out to be a fuel mileage race. What a finish to this one, Jacob.
That's about the finish I expected for whatever we saw in those first 60 laps.
Your thoughts on how things went down in terms of this race as a whole?
Thank goodness we're going to Indianapolis and not like Auto Club or Texas or something. That's all I know.
Once again, Ryan Naraki officially your race winner. End of the longest line for Clint Roberts as a result of going underneath the yellow line. And what was, again, an intriguing sequence of events to close out the Michigan 200 for FTF1. What a closing lap and what a closing stage of this race, to say the very least, in this one. Ryan Naraki, again, you're scored your official race winner. Ryan, how does it feel?
Oh, that was a heck of a show. It's the craziest package I've ever driven, probably in iRacing. You get huge runs. The cars are so fragile, though. It's really sketchy. On that last lap, my plan was to, the yellow line's illegal. So as soon as the yellow line ended, my plan was to shoot low and not let him pass me. And obviously he beat me down there before I had a chance to block low. So I felt like he had made an illegal move, and I didn't want us to crash. So I tried to hold my line, but we just barely touched. And, my right front sheared off, and I just held the gas down and was able to still get to the line first. I don't know what happened to Doucette, but that was a heck of a show. I hope everyone enjoyed it. That's the most competitive package I've ever driven.
Yeah, how crazy was it to try and keep yourself with the momentum here? Because it seemed like for a lot of drivers, you can go back and forth through the field, and there was 3, 4, 5 wide in some sequences.
Yeah, you could drop back. The fastest lap pays a point in this, so we tried some fastest lap stuff, and draft was about 0.7 of a second. And if you dropped to 0.7 of a second, it took about a quarter lap to gain that. So, I mean, that tells you right there that if you didn't have the impediment of the other cars in front of you, you could be about 2.5 seconds faster a lap with draft. It was insane. So you could pretty much go wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. It's just, deciding if you were willing to die for it or not. And a lot of us did decide to die for it early. Luckily, the faster pair was there to save us. But it's insanity. This is something you could only do in iRacing, anything like this in real life, and we'd be, we'd be leaving with less drivers than we started with. But it was a lot of fun. This is a great league, man. This is this series FTF1 is amazing. This is awesome. And if you're not in the series, you're really missing out.
Next race goes over to Hockenheim. Your thoughts on going to the Hockenheim ring?
Well, I'll be pretty awful. I'm awful at all the road course races. Justin and I are oval track specialists. We were just talking today about it, and we said we have to win this. We are oval track aces, and road courses, we just shoot for 10th place, 9th place to get a point. So come out of here, Scuderia Speeding, to get a win today is huge. And the intention is to try to get 10th at the road courses and get back to Indianapolis in a couple of weeks and try to get some wins there. Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight? My teammate Justin and FTF admins for putting this on. It's the best league in all iRacing. It's awesome. Great events Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Best racing in the whole game. So a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys broadcasting too. Great job. It's always a quality broadcast. Appreciate it. Ryan Naraki coming away with the checkered flag officially once again for the Michigan 200. Congratulations. Thank you guys. Again, that was Ryan Naraki. Alan Balacino was the man who will score himself into second position, and it was among the drivers trying to save gas. Jacob Hitz is with him.
You made it? Of course, you may have. Well, I guess you wouldn't have really found out if you would have run out after the flag or not, since you went tumbling down through the infield. But you really had an up and down day. Let's hear about it.
I was just trying to survive to the end there. Fuel was a concern there. I was not expecting to finish second there. It was something. It really was an upside down kind of race, wasn't it? Especially going airborne across the line like that. Like, I was airborne for 15 seconds. That's all I know that happened.
Yeah, you went on quite a tumble. I think that tumble quite accurately describes tonight's race here at Michigan. Looking ahead, Hockenheim next week. It's a lot different than this track and really pretty different than Spa. What do you think on it?
Love Hockenheim. I think it'll be a good race. It's a good track with these cars. Good time.
And before we send you on your way, anybody you want to thank, say hi to?
I'd like to thank everybody over at Nexus Esports. Jake, Tucker, Dave, Logan. Anybody else I'm missing, I apologize.
Well, congratulations on the second place finish, and we will see you next week in Hockenheim. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Finisher here at Michigan.
Third spot went to Casey Drake tonight, officially on the board. And Casey, talk us through your race, as it seemed to be a roller coaster of emotions from our viewpoint for you.
Yeah, I was up front for the first half of the race, and I just kind of decided to lay back for kind of the second half, and we had a long green flag run there. And while kind of in the back, I was saving some fuel, and luckily I just was saved just enough. I think I would have ran out, made it probably to the back straightaway on the next lap. So kind of just got lucky a lot of times missing the wrecks, and I didn't have to use my fast repair for this race, and ended up with the top 3, so I'm pretty happy about that.
It took a bit for the long runs to come into play, yes, but overall, how would you describe the flow of this race and trying to get yourself into a rhythm, especially once the fuel started coming to play for the final run?
Yeah, it was a lot of just pack racing. I mean, basically the whole race. There was a little bit of a tandem. You could kind of push out to maybe like a 2/10 gap, but not really anything more. It was kind of a lot of racing in the final 15 laps. We just kind of stayed single file, and then saving fuel a little bit, I think, for the front pack.
Hockenheim Ring is up next. Your thoughts for the next round?
Yeah, that should be a fun race. Hockenheim's one of my favorite tracks on the F1 schedule, and it should be pretty fun on iRacing.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Just for you guys broadcasting and this putting on this race.
Casey Drake coming home with the top 3. Congratulations.
Yep, thank you.
Again, that's Casey Drake. I'd like to thank him, Alan Ballachino, Ryan DeRocky, for taking the time to speak with us. As let's take a look at the upcoming events on STN. As tomorrow night, the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals heads to the virtual Daytona International Speedway's road course for action. Coverage starts approximately 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on Monday, it's Four Corners Racing Week heading to Kansas Speedway. That coverage will start at 8:15 p.m. FTF1 will return for rounds 4 and 5 at the Hockenheim Ring on May the 14th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye. For my broadcast partner Jacob Hitz, I'm Justin Prince. And for our producer Zach Johnson, it's time to say goodbye. We'd like to thank you for tuning in for today's exciting action from iRacing's Michigan International Speedway. You've been watching FTF1 on STN Racing.